Spider-Man Brand New Day is a movie about grief. Ever since No Way Home, Peter Parker has lived a life of isolation. He has taken the loss of both Aunt May and everyone in his life to heart, and now has solely dived into his work as Spider-Man. And the portrayal of his grief is something that is quite profound, especially when it comes to the idea of found family. Now, I will be talking about spoilers, so heads up. But I am quite shocked that Spider Man Brand New Day introduced the concept of a found family dynamic with characters who are also missing a family. Peter is focused solely on being Spider Man, focused solely on working as Spider Man, to the point where it emotionally takes a toll. He is so focused on it and seeing his life go by as his friends no longer remember him and live their own lives, to the point where he doesn't really know the people that he's working with. He's just solely focused on his work. And I think that's such a profound take on grief. When someone loses many people in their lives, they tend to focus and hyperfixate on one aspect of their life that they can control. Because when it comes to death and the loss of friends and the loss of memories, there's so much out of your wheelhouse that you cannot control. So you control what you can do best, and that is be Spider Man, to the point where his isolation mirrors the Punisher. To which I'm really shocked that they did such a good job of introducing the Punisher into this world with Spider Man and having them bounce off of each other. The Punisher is a character that I've written a whole piece for on my main Video Essay channel and talking about his avoidant attachment style. The psychology that he places his faith on no one but himself, keeps himself isolated from everyone around him. But that is also mirrored with Peter. Peter doesn't want to trust anyone else. He doesn't want to put someone else in harm's way. He only trusts in himself to do the job and will use the help of people when he needs it. But at the end of the day, he will always take it upon himself to do everything by him. So then when he relies on the Punisher to take care of MJ, that is such a great foil between the two characters, because the Punisher himself recognizes that if he could have even just one more moment with his loved ones, he would take it. And so Peter, who is able to have that opportunity to have time with his loved ones, both MJ and Ned, he didn't take it. He chose to isolate himself, dive into his work for the sole purpose of the idea of protecting them. But it turns out this idea of protecting them, one, was not what they initially had wanted for themselves, but two, emotionally harms Peter to the point where he begins to mutate. He begins to express his spider genes way more than any of his human genes. So when Jean Grey, yes, this is Jean Grey who is being introduced into the MCU, gets unveiled as a character who's looking desperately for her sister, that also mirrored both Peter and the Punisher's emotional state. They cannot trust anyone. The ones that they loved have been robbed of their lives. So then at the climax of the movie, when Jean Grey has a heart-to-heart with Aunt May and with Peter, they recognize in themselves that they have a found family with each other. And when Frank shoots Peter in the back, he realizes that, oh crap, he messed up. He messed up big time because he hurt the ones he loves. He recognizes that Spider-Man is now part of his found family. Jean Grey is now part of their found family. And when Spider-Man goes at the end of the movie to reconnect with Ned and MJ, he recognizes that his family is still out there waiting to be found. And I think this is such a profound message. I think both Yelena and Hulk were a little bit underutilized in this movie, but they also just serve to move the plot forward. But all the other characters are this found family dynamic that is really heartwarming to see. Both Ned and Peter are so sweet, so cute together, because they are a family. They care about one another to express this familial love. And I think that's something that truly is a product of these past 6 years or 5 years since No Way Home. The idea that Peter has lost Aunt May, lost the other two Peters, lost Ned and MJ, really symbolized that idea of both post-COVID and the idea after college. When we graduated college, it felt like we tried to hold on to our friendships, but at the end of the day, we drift apart. People go off to different places. They're now in completely different stages of their lives. And that is echoed so much with this movie. And it is beautifully addressed through the cinematography, through the isolation that Peter feels throughout the entire movie, to even the color scheme. New York has never looked quite as gray in any of the other Tom Holland Spider-Man movies. But yet, in that gray, in that dull landscape, in that urban landscape that can make you feel so isolated, there is still love. And that's portrayed so much with the citizens of New York, as it is always done in Spider-Man movies. The city of New York lives and breathes as its own found family, and New Yorkers stand up for one another because they are all part of the same family. And I think that's a very sweet message that Spider-Man gets across. Yes, I do believe it is a little Disneyfied, it is a little simplified, especially because Frank Castle, the Punisher, is a very mature and complex character. And both he and Jean Grey are very sweet in this movie. Seeing Frank Castle, John Bernthal smile as Frank Castle in this movie when Jean Grey was in his body, that was like, whoa, yeah, oh, I don't even know what to think about that. He smiled. He's like, good luck with that, Peter. I was like, it just seems so bizarre. But I love that their relationship really grows. And I feel like it was the perfect character to put with Peter. And I think the dynamic that a lot of people have a problem with being Iron Man and Peter Parker in the past has always been from a parental figure, where Iron Man felt more like Peter Parker's father figure. And Spider Man has to constantly live up to that idea of becoming as great as Iron Man was. Felt a little bit juvenile, especially because you were taking this from a perspective of a young child. But John Bernthal's Punisher really didn't feel like a parental role. It felt like that they were brothers, that they were siblings, that they had experienced such a tremendous loss and they were able to navigate that loss together and find hope and love with each other, to the point where they're smiling at each other at the end, even though he shot him. It's just such a sweet moment, and that carries the whole message of just that idea of the found family at the end. And the last important detail is at the end of the movie, Peter does not have a final swing session as Spider-Man. He is in recovery and he has a final moment with Ned. And that is such a beautiful scene because for the first time, he's taking time to be Peter Parker and not worrying about the idea of having to be Spider-Man. Because in this universe, in the MCU, Peter has a lot more help. There's so much more out there for him. And other heroes can pitch in to all help each other so that Peter can have a normal, healthy relationship with his best friend. And I think that's such a sweet message. Overall, the movie was fantastic. The cinematography was gorgeous. Parts of it were a little bit underutilized, especially with the Hulk and Yelena. I think Jean Grey was a really interesting addition to the MCU, especially because it's not coming from a point of, she's already established with the X-Men, but it's coming from a younger point, of a younger found family trope that will extend itself to the X-Men, because the X-Men are all about found family because they suffer such discrimination. And that is very apparent in this movie when Jean Grey is targeted because she's different. And now Spider-Man is also targeted. And the fact that Spider-Man created the inhibitors, that's freaking crazy. And I'm excited to see how that plays in the other movies. But I don't really know where we're going to go in the Marvel Cinematic Universe after this. I don't even know how this movie is going to relate, if at all, to Doomsday. But just the idea of Jean Grey just being introduced, and the vent scene was heartbreaking to see VMAX just be the vent. It was a very great introduction for Jean Grey. It was a gorgeous moment. And I feel like I love the moments where Peter could just be with his friends. And that is something that, hey, we all need nowadays, because isolation, post-COVID, post-college, it's getting really hard out there. And I think we really need to connect with one another again. But enough about what I think about Spider-Man Brand New Day. I want to hear about what you all think about it down in the comments. Did you like the movie? What is your ranking in terms of all the Spider-Man movies? I would say this is sort of mid-tier, maybe my top 5 movies of Spider-Man. But let me know. Do you agree with my opinions about it? Also, let me know if you enjoyed this video. Consider dropping a like and subscribing for more. As always, check the links in my description for my main video essay channel and my Patreon to support the channel and recommend media for me to review next. Thank you to all my current Patreon members whose memberships keep this channel afloat. I am so grateful you are all here with me. But that is all for now. Thank you so much, and I will see you all in the next video.